speaker to join us that I haven't seen come in yet, but we will make it work on the fly. So we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to our quarterly workforce convening. We are excited to have a good lineup of speakers this quarter for you guys, and hopefully some really good topics. But here's our agenda for the next hour. We will just do a quick review of our OTC Works workforce strategy, as we always do, and then have a couple of really good partners that we wanted to share with our employer audience, a little bit more specifically around transportation barriers, as we've been hearing a lot about that in our rollout and development of the Empowered Worker Program. So we have Otter Express, and then hopefully the speaker that I'm waiting for us to hopefully will join us is from the Car Care Program. And then we have a couple folks from Minnesota DEED who will share on a new training program specifically geared toward individuals with disabilities and some different best practices and program that they've put together here recently. And then speaking of the Empowered Worker Program, Amy Johnson, as our workforce navigator here at the county, will join and share an exciting update on the progress that we've made so far in the first 6 months of that program, coming up on just around 6 months. And then we'll have a little bit of time for Q&A and discussion at the very end. Otherwise, feel free as we're going through today to drop questions in the chat box, and then we'll leave time at the end to unmute and have some conversations. But to jump right in, just a quick overview as we do every quarter, an overview of our OTC Works workforce strategy. So this is the county's workforce strategy that is really geared around the 3 actions that you see here. And then we say this every time, but OTC stands for Otter County, also standing for opportunities, training, and connections. And that's kind of the 3 buckets that our action strategies fall under. So that first one being promoting the availability of jobs in the county, and then also workforce resources available to our employers and different partners for that purpose. And then second action area here is helping employers promote their opportunities, and then best practices to recruit and retain that workforce that they desperately need. And then the third action area is that partnerships and connections to improve occupational readiness, reducing some of those barriers to employment to get everyone into the workforce that can be, and then also aligning the skills for our future workforce needs in Otter County. So quick synopsis, but we'll jump right into our first speaker, which is we wanted to provide, like I mentioned, in our first 6 months of rolling out the Empowered Worker Program, which we'll hear a little bit more about later from Amy. We've heard a lot about transportation barriers, and not necessarily a new topic either. We've been hearing about that for quite some time in several different areas of work that we do. But we have a couple of great resources here that serve the county and the region, and so wanted to invite them to just share a little bit more about their programs and their services that they offer. So Kayla Sullivan, who is the Director of Transportation at Otter Express, is going to join us first and just give an update on some new things happening with Otter Express, and then some things that we maybe don't all know. So I will go ahead and turn it over to Kayla to get us started.
Well, hi, everybody, and thanks for having me today. Like Sarah mentioned, I'm the director of the Otter Express. We service Pelican, Clay, and Ottertail counties, and I have just created a little slideshow, and it might be a little more details than everybody needs. But hopefully there'll be a little bit of time at the end here. You guys can ask me questions if you'd like to too. So, okay, next slide. So like our business operations, we are a public transit agency. We are for anyone in any of our service areas to use. We get funded by the federal DOT and MnDOT, the state DOT. Our funding sources do not fund us at 100%. So we go out and ask for what we call donations from our local partners, usually cities or counties, government agencies, any other businesses that we provide services to that may want to partner with us. And so that's how we get additional money to complete our operations. Next slide. Our current service areas are in Breckenridge in Wilkin County, Fergus Falls and Perham in Otter County. We are expanding and we will have additional service areas in Barnesville, in Clay County, and Battle Lake and Pelican in Otter County. And I'll talk a little bit more about those new areas in a couple slides here. So next slide. Our office hours and bus service times are listed here. So in Fergus Falls, we do all of our dispatching for all of our service areas. So all of our bus ride reservations are done here in Fergus. And that is Monday through Friday, 6:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. In Breckenridge, we have one bus that is there daily from about 8 to 4 p.m. Fergus, we have about 8 buses out every day from 6:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. And Perham, we have 2 buses, which run about 8 to 4:30 Monday through Friday. We do not do any, as a side note, we don't do any service currently on the weekends. I did not add this into the slide, so this is just a little side note. We could in the future do that. We have to track demand from callers that call in and say, hey, we want you to whatever, pick me up in Parker's Prairie. We say no at the time, but we track all of those calls we say no to. Then I can go to MnDOT and say, hey, we have a lot of demand in this area or for this day of the week or after 6 p.m. or something like that. We have to track all those. Then I bring it to MnDOT, and then in the future we could put that in place. So just as a little side note for that. Okay, next slide. So those new service areas I was talking about, in Barnesville, it'll be 2 days a week initially. And again, we're just going to be tracking demand for all of these new towns. Hopefully they will want us there and we'll have the demand for more days a week. But initially it's just going to be 2 days in Barnesville, 1 day in Battle Lake, and 2 days in Pelican Rapids. We are all set to go to all 3 of these towns. We just need the drivers. So if any of y'all have resources for that, you could send them my way. Next slide, please. So currently for the whole entire Otter Express, we have about 20 full and part-time drivers. We have 2 full-time mechanics that do most all of our repairs here in-house. We have 2 full-time dispatchers. We have me, 1 full-time director. We have a full-time transportation manager, and we have a full-time driver. I'm sorry, I typed that wrong, a dispatch supervisor. All right, next slide. So how to schedule a bus ride. It's very easy, and I may be redundant. Maybe a lot of you know this, but I just kind of wanted to give out all the details. You just call this phone number. It goes right to our dispatch, or you can email that email address that's listed. We suggest calling at least 2 days in advance. Just the earlier call, the better chances of you getting the time and the day that you need. We can schedule rides for up to 2 weeks at a time. You just have to know your pickup location and your drop-off location. Suggest a time that you want to get picked up to go to your destination and what time you need to be there. So we actually do transport a lot of people for employment for their jobs. So they'll call us, I got to go be to work by 8 o'clock. So we usually schedule them to be there, at least by 10 minutes to 8 as the drop-off time. The suggested time you would like to go to your destination and to return to go back home. So we'll bring you to, whatever, service food to go shopping. We will ask you, okay, about how long do you think you're going to be there? Okay, about an hour. So then we'll schedule you again to go back home or go wherever you want to go back to. If it's a shopping to like Walmart service, whatever, Dollar Tree, or go to your friend's house, Mainly the shopping trips. We will look in our schedule to see if a bus is already going to be going out to the Dollar Tree. Then we'll suggest that, oh, okay, can we pick you up at whatever time that bus is already going? It's more efficient, makes more sense business wise and everything. So you don't have to take the time that we say. If you're set on the 9 o'clock and we say 10, we can still make the 9 happen if it's available. Okay, next slide. We are considered a door-to-door service in public transit in what we're called demand response. There's door-to-door or fixed service. A fixed service route is more seen in larger communities like Fargo, Moorhead, St. Cloud, the cities, where you always have the same route of the buses going at the same times. It typically doesn't work that well in rural communities. So we're door to door. What that means is assistant service must be requested when the caller is calling in to request the ride. So if you need some sort of assistance, mainly, like if you're in a wheelchair or mobility device, we have that notated in our software that you are using a mobility device. The driver already knows we got to use the lift. So we already know we're going to have to assist you in some fashion. If you are, for example, maybe a little elderly rider who doesn't use a wheelchair or scooter or anything, but they just feel like they can't carry their bags in, then you just say that when you call in. I just need a little assistance with my grocery bags when you're making your ride reservation. So the issues with the door-to-door is that we cannot go into a person's home. We can't go into a garage. We can't cross that threshold of that doorway. The only exception is like if it's in a business, say sometimes, like here in Fergus, the clinic has like a vestibule and little entryway before it gets into the main clinic. We can just get you into that little entryway just so you're out of the elements. So the driver can do that, but they can never go into a home. They can never carry your grocery bags and set them inside your door. We can set them right outside your door. And obviously this is all just for liability issues. Okay, next slide. Okay, so currently in 2024, we have bus fares at $2 for a one-way ride anywhere across our service areas. In 2025, we are changing bus fares to go based on miles. So you can see the layout here, 0 to 5 is $2. For the most part, for most people, this isn't going to change. Most of them travel within that 5 miles. There might be a few that go up to the 8, but for most people, it really won't change that much. The other change is that if you call in for a ride today and we can accommodate that ride, it will be an additional $1. So if you're going within 5 miles, it'll be $3 instead of $2. The same day rides came into play because a lot of people right now are calling for same day rides. We're just getting a lot busier. We can't really accommodate them, so we're trying to get people to plan in advance. Okay, next slide. So how to ride our buses. So we have a window of a 10-minute time from the time that you called in your scheduled ride. So if you said, I want to get picked up at 10, we schedule for 10, we can arrive up to 10 minutes before that time. We will wait there though until 10 o'clock. I'm sorry, just got a message. We will wait there until 10 o'clock for your scheduled time, and we will wait 3 minutes. So we will wait till 10:03 for you to come out to the bus. So when you see the bus, you just walk out to the bus. If you're paying a bus fare, you have to show that to your bus driver, cash, coin, or check. We do have an app that you can buy bus fares on called Token Transit, and it's a very simple app, very easy. And you would just show your phone to the bus driver. If somebody else is paying for your rides, we do that quite a bit. We have a lot of third-party billing that we do. You don't have to do anything. The driver already knows that your bus fare is paid for. They don't know who paid for it. They don't know if the county paid for it, your friend, they don't know. The driver just knows that it is paid for because there's a lot of confidential issues, obviously, with that. So you just get on the bus, you sit on any seat that is open and put on your seatbelt. That's just Minnesota law. Every passenger is supposed to be wearing a seatbelt. Wheelchair, scooters, and any mobility devices. The driver will engage our lift. They will be with that rider the whole time, and they will secure that device to our bus. That is a MnDOT thing. All of our drivers are highly trained on how to secure devices. And that's obviously mainly for safety. If there's a bus accident, we don't want anybody to get hurt, and we don't want that device to get thrown somewhere else on the bus and hurt somebody else. When you get to your destination, you just do the reverse. You just hop off the bus how you got on the bus. If you were on the lift, the driver will get out. He'll be with you, or she, with you the whole entire time, get you down, get you to your whatever your destination is. Okay, next slide. And some tips for riding the bus. This shopping grocery bag is probably our most commented issue on the bus. So we have a 4-bag limit. Lots of people have way more than 4 bags. Lots of people have lots of heavy bags, lots of heavy items. The issue with the bags is that the rider must be able to carry all the bags on to the bus by themselves, be in control of the bags for the bus ride home or wherever their destination is, and then get them off the bus by themselves. Unless they have called in and said they need a little assistance, or obviously if it's somebody in a wheelchair, they're going to need assistance. The reason that they have to do this on their own is because, again, if the bus got in an accident, all those heavy items could fly out everywhere. They could hit somebody else. They could break a window, et cetera, et cetera. All right, secured items. Any large items have to be secured on the bus. Wheelchair scooters, strollers, any large item, again, for the reasons I just said. If there's a bus accident, they could go flying around and hurt somebody. If any rider has a large item, they just need to notate that when they call in for their bus ride. Okay, next slide. Here's some more tips. Items that are not allowed on the bus are pets unless they're in a carrier or on a leash, or if they're a service animal. Under the federal government, we have to allow service animals on the bus. The animals just have to be in control. They have to be controlled by the owner. If it's on a leash, that animal just has to be sitting on the floor next to the owner for the entire ride. Food is not allowed on the bus, just no open containers. Obviously, people that are going to work want to bring their lunch or something like that. But yeah, they can have it in their bag or carry-on or whatever. They just cannot be consumed on the bus. In the past, there has been a lot of food and drinks consumed on our buses, and it was a mess. So it's just for cleanliness. Water is the beverage you can drink on the bus. Obviously, no alcohol, no open alcohol containers. You can have alcohol. I should clarify that because we do take a lot of people to the liquor stores, and that's fine. You can carry that on the bus with you. No flammable items, obviously no gas, no fuel ever, and no weapons on the bus. Okay, next slide. A little bit of more tips for you. Safety, don't ever obviously run along, slide, or after a moving bus. Don't go in front of a bus when you're waiting for a bus. And to backtrack to those actually have happened, so that's why we say that. Waiting for the bus, don't wait obviously in the street, wait up on the sidewalk or in your house or on the grassy area, something like that. Okay, next slide. So no-show rides and canceled rides. Canceled rides, you have to cancel your ride at least 1 hour prior to your scheduled time. The reason for that is we already have the days booked up. And so if you don't cancel your ride, somebody on the same day could have had that spot. So if you don't cancel your ride at least 1 hour prior, it will be considered a no-show. A no-show is a bus arrives for your scheduled time and the rider does not come out nor cancels their ride. That show is considered a no-show ride. A rider will be suspended when there are 3 no-shows within a 30-day rolling period for 1 week. Further no-shows will result in additional week suspension. Okay, next slide. And if y'all want to contact us, all of our contact information, emails, phone numbers are on here. But I'm thinking, I don't know, Sarah, does there a couple minutes if anybody has any questions right now?
Yeah, we actually got a couple questions. One just from Nicole asking if we can share this information, and I said we'll send out these slides so everyone has this information at their fingertips. But then another question from Marcia. She asked, "Are young children able to use car seats, or do you have seats available, or do riders have to bring their own?"
Yes, the kids can be in a car seat. We don't have any, so you'd have to bring your own, and it has to be in a seat belt. But yes, that is allowed. Yeah.
Great. And then any other questions, folks? Feel free to drop them in the chat or unmute. We'll do a couple quick questions now. Otherwise, we will move on. And if any other questions do come up, I'm sure Kayla will stay on and be available.
Yeah.
Okay, so while seeing no other ones, I think we'll move on to our next speaker. So Chris Chisholm is from the Car Care program, which is actually, and Chris will do a better job explaining this, but they are going to be new, providing new services in Otter County. And so wanted to share their organization and their services with everyone as they're just kind of getting rolling and figuring things out, but they're a great resource, so wanted to share all about them. So I will hand it over to Chris.
All right. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I am not a PowerPoint guy, and so I did not prepare a beautiful PowerPoint. It's like Kayla did, so Kayla, good job on that. So I'm just more conversational, so I just wanted to introduce myself and get a face out there. But yeah, we're excited to launch into the Fergus Falls Otter area. Essentially, I'll just kind of start with what we are, what we've done, and what we're going to hopefully do in Otter County. And so we were founded in 2012 up in Alexandria in Douglas County. We're a 501c3, just like any other nonprofit, like a United Way, Habitat for Humanity, somebody like that. And we were founded out of the recognition that because of the vast miles between communities and the great need for people to have vehicles as a main source of transportation, that there was just a gap there of people that were lacking safe and reliable transportation. And so our program was started initially to just receive donated vehicles as a nonprofit, repair those vehicles, and then give those vehicles away to clients that were referred to our program. And so, and that was in 2012. So someone would take their car that was, high school kid's car, it ran through the whole family, or their mom and dad moved to the nursing home, or they had a car that was sitting in the weeds for getting snowed on every year for 5 years, and they're like, I should get rid of that car. We would take that car. The running joke is we take 4 wheels or no wheels. We're going to take it, and we would assess that vehicle, and then through a repair process with working with local shops, repair that car, and then through a referral process, through people getting to us through churches, human services, United Way, that sort of thing, that were identified that were lacking a car, they get referred to us, and we would give that car for free away. And prior to me taking over the program 6 years ago, we had given about 230 cars away, which was pretty incredible, and only served Douglas County. And so when I came on board in 2006, or in 2000 6 years ago, we were doing that really well, but one of the things that we were doing was paying full labor on every car we fixed. And so if you can imagine a 2004 Chevy Impala, if we had to put brakes, tires, suspension, and pay full labor on that, all of us have had a labor bill on a car, right? We understand that it's like over $100 an hour. It just ended up being that we would put more money into that car than it was worth. And so recognizing that, we had a small crew of volunteers that like one Saturday a month would get together, and we would go borrow some space at a local shop, and we would try to fix 1 or 2 cars without having to pay all that labor charge. And it was just working out great. We would fix additionally, 20 cars over the year, and it was kind of fun. It was all retired guys, and so it was kind of just I would feed them breakfast and donuts, and then they would show up and work for free. So that's kind of how that worked. And so I did that for the first year. That was 2018, 19. We did that, and quickly realized that we had this willingness of this group of guys that wanted to give back more of their time, but we didn't have the space that they could come in during the week and help. And so I asked a few of the guys and said, if I found a space, would you come in during the week and fix cars? And they were like, oh my gosh, we would love that. Our wives would love that. So that's kind of the big thing. So we created this almost, we found a shop space, a one stall space. We'd already had a bunch of tools, car repair tools. And so we rolled our tools into that shop. This would have been January of 2020. We rented that space for $500 a month. And we started fixing cars 3 days a week in the morning, utilizing retired CPAs, realtors, guys that were just kind of shade tree mechanics, and started eliminating the labor charge on cars that we were fixing. And so that being said, we were able to take that same Chevy Impala and do all of those things, but not have to pay the extra $600 in 6 hours of labor charge, and really only paid it in donuts and that sort of thing, and coffee. And so quickly we then realized that we have this group of retired individuals that's getting lots of purpose out of this, and I think we could do this on our own. And so in 2021, end of 2020 into 2021, we started looking for our own shop facility, and proud to say that we're hitting our 3-year mark this year. We essentially own our own shop facility with 3 bays. I was the shop manager, so I'm not a mechanic by trade. I grew up on a farm in Ada, Minnesota, but I have a finance degree. so I was advising the guys, and so we realized when we moved into our own shop facility that we were already eliminating the labor charges. We get our parts at cost from Napa and AutoZone and local part yards. That we could do this at a higher level. So now, fast forward 3 years, we have our own shop facility. We have about 25 retired guys that come in 4 days a week, multiple days a week for many of them, retired dentists and all over the board, and now started to integrate high school students inside of our program. And we are over 700 cars repaired without a dime of labor. And so we've just kind of changed the game of, we started recognizing that because we can eliminate the labor, we are still going to give cars away. So people can still donate a car to our program and get a tax incentive to do so. And we give that car away and we fix that car without labor. But we started recognizing and working more closely with our human service agencies and our referral partners to say, if you have a client with a car, because we believe that the vast majority of people that I've seen in the last 6 years, it isn't that they don't have a car or access to a car, it's that said car isn't safe and reliable. And so that car might need an alternator, it might need brakes all the way around, or whatever it might be. But because there's not a lack of resources to pay for that car sits in the driveway and they start to rot away, and then all of a sudden we lose access to that car. So we started being a little more proactive to say, if you have a client with a car, we can fix that car, and let's fix that car but first, before we try to give them a car. And so our program really aims towards identifying people that have access to a vehicle and getting that car in our shop, assessing it for free, giving them some tools in their tool belt to understand when you got to change oil. So there's a class that's required that they need to go to. And again, I'm high level overviewing on a car care program, so just blurt out when you need me to interrupt it. But recognizing that if we just change the brakes, change the oil, educate them, and do the tires today, that instead of 9 months from now when those things weren't done to that car, then we are being proactive and we keep that car on the road. And so, like I said, over the last 3 years, we've done that over 700 times. And we now serve Douglas County, Polk County, and Stevens County as of last year. Stevens County looks a little different, where we get cars basically brought up to our shop facility and repaired on site here. But Fergus Falls had a different, unique opportunity and was able to connect with Life Church and the elder board there. And they have a beautiful shop facility behind their church that we will be not renovating, but outfitting with all of our shop hoists and tools beginning January 1 in launching hopefully what we call the Spark Plug Gang into Fergus Falls area, and really just kind of rallying and getting people that are looking for that sense of purpose and connection and camaraderie motivated behind repairing cars. We bring our expertise and we bring an actual shop mechanic inside of that. So I hired a full-time shop manager that was at a local Ford dealership for 22 years as a used car expert. So he advises the guys, and then the guys do the work and the high school kids do the work. And like I said, we've done it over 700 times. We've done 26 engine replacements this year alone. If you have a Chevy Traverse or a GMC Acadia, you should rethink having that car. Just kidding. But that has been 16 of those 26 cars. But really, it's the ability to eliminate labor, to activate volunteers, and fix cars. Like I said, we raise money and support as a 501c3 to do what we do. Our average car repair is about $450 per client. But because we're being proactive and just identifying cars ahead of time, we're able to keep those cars on the road, keep people to their medical appointments, to their jobs, and work in partnership with places like the Otter Express and Rainbow Rider, because there is a need for just both in both worlds. So that's Car Care Program. We are hoping to launch a big awareness campaign in January to gain volunteers and also to gain and talk to referral partners to make sure they're aware of who we are and what we're doing, and partner and collaborate together. It looks differently across the board. Many of our referral partners come alongside of us financially to cover the costs of parts, because they've got dollars that have been awarded to them and allocated to do so, and then we eliminate the labor and keep that car on the road. Sarah, that's Car Care. Really quick Car Care version.
Yeah, really great overview, and I love to hear the story of where you guys started and where you're at. So, if folks want, are interested in either volunteering or being a referral partner or just a partner in general, how do they contact you?
I can drop my email in the chat here in our website. I'm really open to just getting in front of people, having coffee up in Fergus, lunches, that sort of thing, just getting some awareness. We've gathered a lot of our volunteers, honestly, through church groups, and just and if there's a newcomers group where there's a bunch of wives that are wives to retired guys who then push their husbands to go do something like this, it's really a habitat volunteer model, but we fix cars instead. But up here, just a little differently, we integrate our high school inside of that and get some. It's really neat to see that intergenerational thing happen with our volunteers and the high school kids. But it's really a unique volunteer experience in a heated and air-conditioned shop with an expert on site.
Definitely. All right. Any quick questions for Chris? Folks want to drop those in the chat or unmute really fast. Otherwise, we will keep going to our next speakers. I'm going to share my screen again while we're waiting for any questions. Okay. Not hearing any. You did a great job overview of that, Chris. So with that, feel free to, if anything pops to mind, feel free to drop those in the chat, but we will move on to our next speakers. So as I mentioned on the front end, we have Sam and Matt here from DEED. They are both business engagement specialists with vocational rehab services within the DEED umbrella. And we've asked them to come and present on a new training program that they are offering specific to disability inclusion. So I will turn it over to them, and they're going to give us an overview of that training program and then potentially some other resources as well.
Thank you, Sarah. Yes, I'm Sam Capella. I'm with DEED and Rehab, Vocational Rehabilitation Services. I'll let Matt introduce himself as well here. Okay, I'll continue. I'll let Matt introduce himself when he starts talking. Then, so this program is really in
I'm
a
sorry,
developmental. Go ahead, Matt. Sorry.
All right, I'm sorry. I was on mute, everybody. My name's Matt Liapis, and I'm also a business engagement specialist with VRS under Deed, and I serve the Northwest Minnesota region.
Thanks, Matt. So this program is actually still in a pilot phase, in some developmental phases. We really plan to roll it out on a more larger scale in 2025. Right now, we are going through this program with a few businesses that had volunteered to be part of this program. And so we're getting that feedback and kind of implementing that into the curriculum and the training materials that we have for this program. So just a little caveat with that, but we're excited to talk about it today. The program came from the point of view of more inclusive hiring, and there's different demographics, different areas where Deed is looking to improve inclusive hiring practices, but disability inclusive is what this training surrounds and what we're going to be talking about today. And the program will be open to any organization wanting to deliver diversity in their workplace, and particularly with disability hiring practices. So we will give the employers an overview of disability employment and learn inclusive recruitment, hiring, retention practices, and give them some tools and ongoing resources to use regarding that. So the employers that go through this, they receive a certification, they get the seal. That certification can be used as far as window clings, that can be used displayed on their email signatures, things like that. So it really is an actual certification showing that the employer, that business has gone through this training and has not only that certification, but the knowledge behind it in ongoing resources for situations that might come up as far as hiring is concerned. So employers complete the free training at their own pace, and then they receive that certification and the Disability Inclusive Business Partner certification, same title as the program. I know it's kind of a long title, but that's the certification. So the training, once they've gone through the training, there's 6 different sections to the training. Those can be done at a pace that works best for the business and for their schedule. The primary delivery option for that is probably going to be virtual meetings with the program coordinators. Those program coordinators have just been hired, so they'll be coming in and really getting out and doing that, like I said, in 2025, but working with them to create a schedule that works for the business. So this could be potentially completed within a matter of a few months. It could be done throughout the year to accommodate those employer schedules. So we can go to the next slide, please. And yet the objective of the training is to equip employers with inclusive workplace practices and to enhance their company culture. So just going through, we have a number of different resources, like I mentioned, that are part of that initial training. But with that, we leave those materials with the employer so that they may reference those at any time that they need. There's a lot of different topics regarding, for example, ADA accommodations, things like that. And then there is also resources within our agency and outside of our agency. So a lot of links to websites, but also part of the training is that we give examples and practical use for those resources. So we don't just leave the resources, we kind of walk through that, give an overview, and talk about some of the practical scenarios or situations that those resources might come in handy. And then to help focus on diversifying the workforce, supporting employees with disabilities, we also, as part of it, can help with, for example, job descriptions, how to write those job descriptions to accurately represent that and to take into account maybe some of those accommodations that might take place, and then also to give the tools to be able to market yourself as an employer, and particularly as a disability inclusive employer. The idea is that for job seekers who might have a disability, a lot of times they are apprehensive about disclosing those disabilities when they're hiring or when being applying for a position. The idea with this is statewide that a number of businesses would have this certification and that individuals, job seekers would feel comfortable applying with that business because they would understand that they understand some of the disability employment, either barriers or things that come along with that. So next slide, please. Key benefits of disability inclusion. We've surveyed some companies. This curriculum, this training certification was developed by DEED, but also with third parties. So we wanted to make sure that we had covered a lot of different angles and got a lot of different input and resources to this. But some of the things that we've received from employers that have been a part of this or this pilot or this type of program is that it improved their culture, right? And retention and performance. It gave them access to a more diverse and larger pool of candidates to be able to confidently hire people with disabilities and understand the contributions that people with disabilities can contribute to their business. It also can enhance innovation and communication. So learning how to communicate in different situations with employees. This is targeted for disability inclusion, but a lot of the content in this training can be transferred or can be applicable to any employee within a company in general situations as well. So that helps with that communication aspect of it. Better company reputation and trust. Like I mentioned, if someone sees that, whether they have a disability or not, they see that employer has this certification, has taken the time to understand and the efforts to be an inclusive hiring business, that goes a long way both in the community and with those job seekers as well. And I'll hand it over to Matt for this next slide here.
All right. Hi, this is Matt again. Becoming an inclusive workplace, which is kind of what the whole training is focused on. A big part of that is focus on job flexibility and competency. There's many times when having some flexibility and meeting the needs that your business needs can be filled by people with leveraging unique skills of employees with disabilities. And it also fosters belonging and growth for all employees. What they've found is that people with disabilities, whatever the disability is, have better retention and less call-ins and bring a unique skill, a set of skills to any work site because they have just a different view on the world and they've had different experiences, and it really opens a lot of doors. If we can go next slide, please. This one thing that there you can have access to, and this is bite-sized learning for employers, and it's really a cool thing. It's with Career Force Minnesota on the website, and they have bite-sized learning, so short little learning modules for employers to help become more inclusionary and disability friendly. You can go on there and you can look, and they've got modules on communication and understanding the ADA, and I think we might talk about this, but the reasonable accommodation funds, some reimbursement for making accommodations for those with disabilities. So it's just an opportunity to really get a lot of information, but not have to spend a lot of time. It's really designed to be short and sweet and to the point, and get that information out to employers. If we can go to the next slide, please. And here's some employer resources: vocational rehabilitation services and state services for the blind. And this can be a huge asset because we work with people, both getting them ready for employment, and we stick with them after they become employed, and we work with both the individual and the business. And so working together, we can address some of those needs and some of those concerns either ahead of time, or once the job is started, we can address concerns and identify solutions moving forward so that it's not an end of a road situation. And so there are people in place all across the state of Minnesota to help support people with disabilities, both prior to and after getting the job. And part of that support is working with the business to see what the needs are and how those needs can be met. For employers, there's the work opportunity tax credit. It's a federal tax credit for hiring individuals with disabilities. Larger employers are very good about utilizing this, but smaller businesses often don't, because it can be a little intimidating or overwhelming, and it's something that some people aren't really aware of. And so it's some, the resources there to help take advantage of that tax credit. Like I said, there was that module on the Employer Reasonable Accommodation Fund. It's financial help for providing accommodations for small and mid-sized businesses. If someone needs to lower a counter in their business so that somebody in a wheelchair can access it, they can do that. If they need to hire interpreters, if they need to put a ramp on their building, I mean, it can be utilized in so many different ways. And then really make things accessible for all. So these are just a few of the resources, and we're always working to provide more resources with this training. So it's an ongoing, but there's just a ton of resources out there available to you. With that said, I'll turn it back to you, Sam.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, as Matt mentioned too, with the bite-sized learning modules, those come along with this, but this training can also be, in some cases, a train the trainer type of training as well. A lot of times with these initial sessions, we're meeting with HR professionals or human resources managers and giving them this content. It's the next step is that there is ongoing support with it, so that could be delivered to other staff within the company, frontline supervisors, so that not just a few individuals in the organization are familiar with these practices, but can be delivered to that. So those bite-sized learning modules do come with some nice talking points too. So if you were to deliver that content to your staff, you could facilitate conversations on those modules and on the training as well. So we want to equip in that way. Like I said, with the coordinator for the program who will be going over the initial content, they will also be available for follow-up meetings, whether that's a one-on-one or consultation. If there's questions about the content or a situation arises, to be able to help consult around that. So that's another added benefit of the certification and the training. Something else that that we've heard from employers too, as far as feedback with that, is a lot of times when they looked at hiring individuals or look at employees, we've heard this feedback where they've said, I didn't realize that person had a disability, or they might say that they did not look like they had a disability. And part of the conversation around that with HR staff, but also with supervisors who might be supervising individuals, is that having a disability isn't always apparent. It's not always visual. So some of those stereotypes that come along with that, is something that's covered in the training too. How to approach certain communications, what's appropriate to say in a situation, and what's appropriate as far as supporting the individuals that you might be working with. So that's all part of that. We've got a lot of feedback, honest feedback from employers who said, I really didn't realize a lot of this, or that I did not know that, and really contributing to the process and the content of this training material. But yeah, the training coordinator will put together that training plan for that company. Again, the timelines can be flexible as far as what works, the method of facilitation, whether that's virtual, potentially in person. Then there might even be some webinar or in-person sessions as well that might be done in groups where you would be meeting with other businesses as well. And then, as I mentioned, the continued resources are available for the certified businesses, and all of the resources that come along with that. And then the last page here, we do have a link for this program, for this training program. It does have some more information in addition to what we talked about here, and that is on the CareerForce website. But that does offer, again, another overview and some information. I know it's a lot of information that we gave to kind of retain here, but that information is also available through that link, and you can take your time to look at that.
Well, great. Thank you, Sam and Matt. A lot of great information, and it sounds like some really practical resources for employers to dive into. So hopefully some of our employers take advantage of that. I know we've talked about hiring individuals with disabilities on previous workforce convenings as well, and have kind of shared like there's a lot of resources, and those employers don't have to do it on their own. And this is another thing that they can tap into to really build their awareness and their knowledge around that. So a great resource. So thank you guys. In the essence of time, we're gonna switch and jump right into our next speaker, which is Amy Johnson. If you do have any questions for Sam or Matt, feel free to drop those in the chat, and then we will share their emails out afterwards as well if you do have any questions about the training program. But I'm going to turn it over to Amy and want to give her enough time to share an update on our Empowered Worker program, as we're about 6 months in and have had quite a bit of success so far, and wanted to share just a little bit about that, as well as some opportunities for employers to engage here in the new year. So Amy, take it away.
All right. Hi there, everybody. Amy Johnson. I'm the Workforce Navigator here at Otter County, and I oversee the Empowered Worker Program. So as a reminder, the Empowered Worker Program offers navigational and supportive services to remove barriers to employment and training for individuals. So to date, since July, we've received over 50 referrals for participants of the program. And those referrals actually come internally from Otter County caseworkers, social workers, probation agents, et cetera. And so they are vetted. So the county serves thousands of individuals, these caseworkers, social workers, et cetera. They're basically handpicking individuals out of their caseload that are motivated, accountable, show follow through, and oftentimes I am dealing with substance abuse disorder, and so these individuals are ready for sobriety. And so though they may have been given chances in the past, this time it's the chance that they've been waiting for. So next slide, Sarah. So what are some ways that our employers can engage with our participants? Job shadow. So oftentimes I'm meeting with a new participant and they haven't been in the workforce for a while and they have a few ideas of what they want to do. And so like our high school students, they want to explore careers. And so this program gives them the opportunity to be able to do that. And a job shadow could be a couple hours, job shadowing somebody in an industry that they want to be in, or it could be a day. Internship is pretty much what it is. We have individuals that are right now going to school for cybersecurity, somebody that got their boiler operator, somebody that's working on their boiler operator, nursing, and then I get a lot of peer support specialist interest. And so internships in those areas would be a great benefit to our participants. The job shadow helps them understand if it's what they want to do, but then this gives them a little bit of experience in it to help them with the leap into employment. Some of our participants just want employment and don't want training. Our training partner is M-State, and so they're looking for either a certificate or sometimes a 2-year degree, sometimes a 4-year degree. So that's what we help them navigate through this program. And so they may be looking for employment right away or looking for employment after they receive their credential. Informal mentorships, this is really just if I'm talking to a participant. For example, I had somebody that is interested in behavioral health for adolescents, and she didn't really know what direction to turn for that. So I said, well, let's see if we can find somebody in the industry that can help just have a conversation with you to help you find that path on what you want to do. And so was able to connect that person with somebody at Solutions Behavioral Health and have that conversation and help create that clarity. So something that simple that makes a big difference. And so what's in it for you besides making a difference in somebody's life, which is something I get to do every day, and I love that I get to do it. How you would make a difference is you're giving them that chance that they're ready for. You're helping someone out of poverty, You're preventing a reoffense or a return to substance abuse, because they have said to me, this is too hard. I'll just go back to the life that's easy living. And I pull them out of that and make sure that they keep going, because they want this, but all they're waiting for is that chance. Also, you heard my caseload is vetted. So I'm working with individuals that are motivated, accountable, ready for sobriety. And this is a candidate pool of motivated individuals. So my job is to keep the momentum moving and keep them motivated. And then also the program offers a wage reimbursement. So if you are interested in hiring one of the individuals, this is kind of a carrot for that kind of help. And so it's 75% of the first 2,000 of wages for an individual. And so that is an option as well. And then as Matt mentioned previously in this presentation, the work opportunity tax credit is also an incentive. Next slide. I mentioned job shadowing. So we have been able to set up a few participants with some job shadowing opportunities. Otter Power has been a great partner with us. I had somebody that thought that line personnel was their dream job, and so was able to hook them up with the line personnel apprentice at Otter Power. It took a couple hours. He came in, said, Amy, can I see you? Can I talk to you? He came in and said, that's not for me. That's too much. That's hard. What's next? So he would have never known that had he not tried. And so I do have cybersecurity has been pretty popular lately in interest in my participants. So they met with the manager of IT operations at Otter Power to kind of learn more about that and see the inside of what that looks like, and great experiences there as well. I have a participant that has been out of the workforce for a number of years because she was raising her family, had a life event happen, and now has to go back to work, and can because her kids are grown. So she knew that healthcare was something of interest. So I hooked her up with Perham Health, who was great to give her a 5-day rotation through. She spent a full day in each of those areas listed there. At the end of it, she said, I know what I want to do. I want to be a RN. She finished this a few days ago. We've already got her registered for her CNA. So she's going to be getting that here by February. She'll be starting her generals in January toward her RN. And then she'll be applying for the fall RN program. So super exciting stuff we get to do. And that's because she got to spend that time job shadowing and really exploring those careers. Next slide. So this is one of our very first participants. Actually, I think the first one that I met with. This is Ben. Ben came to me with barriers of a criminal background, unstable housing, under 200% of the federal poverty guideline, and a history of substance abuse disorder. Ben spent some time in prison, and so he came to me with very little confidence. And in this picture, I think you can see that has turned around 180. He's just had so many doors shut on him. His original goal was to explore careers in the trades of plumbing, electrician, and lineman, and obtain his CDL. He said, I don't know where I'm going to end up, but I want my CDL. So I met him for intake. He's actually the one that did the lineman job shadow at Otter Power. You heard how that ended up. We weren't as successful landing a job shadow for plumbing or electrician, but he did work in beet harvest for a little bit. And then he got a job at CARS, which is the picture here, CARS Tree Service. So he finished his CDL training recently. He passed. He has his CDL license. He got an immediate increase at work. He's loving the job. And I'm still working with him for at least 90 days to help him navigate any more barriers that pop up post-employment. Next slide. This is Colton. Colton came to me with the barriers of a criminal background, unstable housing, lack of credentials, and a vehicle that needed repair and no high school diploma or GED. Very motivated, he also struggled with substance abuse disorder. But like I said, when they come to me, they are ready. They're ready to be sober. They're ready to live the life that they want to live, and they feel that they do deserve. So I met Colton for intake at the end of September. He hoped to obtain work, find housing, and work on his GED. So I said, well, what do you think about welding? And he lit up and he said, well, that would be really awesome. My dad's always wanted me to be a welder. And I said, oh, well, we could maybe help you with that. So fast forward, he applied to Lund Boats and New York Mills to be a welder in training, and he interviewed, and he was offered a position as a welder in October with no experience. So they are willing to train him, and sounds like it's going pretty good for him there. Another great employer partner. So my last slide here. What is an employer's road to a successful experience in these scenarios? So the criminal background, I mentioned that most of my caseload has a criminal background. My job when I meet them, I pull their background, we go through it. I talk to them about what they can and cannot do, what industries they may not be able to work in and where they can. We talk about the offenses, what kind of happened, and I help advocate for them when they are going into an interview. I would say 99% of the time, most of these cases, they were high. Not that that's an excuse, but it is. They made a mistake. They had substance abuse disorder. They want to be sober now, but you cannot erase what's on paper. So we talk about that. And when I work with an employer, I am honest with them as well about that. And then work readiness. Often this is their first real job or first in a long time. They don't know what they don't know. And it's hard for them to admit what they don't know. So it's easy when you're working with a high school student to know that they don't know what they don't know, but you would think that adults know all the things. Trust me, they don't. And they're not going to tell you that they don't. So it's a hard spot to be in. Makes them a little vulnerable. Another thing is just opening doors. They have had a lot of doors shut in their face. This creates vulnerability and a bit of defensiveness. So they're naturally quick to defend themselves because they're used to having to do that. So to offer open doors to supervisors and mentors is extra helpful to them, just to have that added support. And then offering grace in the beginning, their learning curve is going to be harder than most because they haven't been in this role for a long time or ever. And so this is very new to them. Mentor is also important, someone that's positive, motivating, patient, and empowering. Another avenue for success. This is a temporary support that they need, just something to get them off the ground and moving, and then they will take it from there. So my final ask would just be to join us in their corner. Sometimes the county staff, including myself, are the only people in my participants' corner. They tell me, Amy, I just want you to be proud of me. And it took me a while to understand why they were saying that. Because I'm like, well, I'm just a county worker. Why do you want, I mean, I didn't ask them that, but why do you want me to be proud of you? I'm the only one in their corner. So that's a big thing to take in because they've maybe burnt a lot of bridges, broken the road to their family. But if they can get on the right path and prove these people that they can, then they'll get those people back. So being vetted by a county worker and then having that and myself gives them two people in their corner. And we already have employers that are showing that they're willing to be in the corner with us as well. Some of you are on the line, and I thank you so much for that because you don't realize what that means to the individual and to this process. But the more people that believe in them, the greater the outcome will be, the more people we will get from reoffending and reusing. So just looking for employer partners to help for these employer and work experiences for our participants.
Thanks, Amy. every time we kind of give an update on the Empowered Worker Program, whether it's to our board members or committees or whoever, it's really exciting to see not only Amy light up, but also like just to hear about the impact on these participants. It's been a really, really exciting and impactful program thus far, and we're excited to carry that forward into 2025. So as Amy said, if you're an employer interested in learning more about the program, learning more about how to engage with our participants, please, please, please do reach out to Amy. She's been great at making those connections and those partnerships. Employers are not also the only ones at the table. We have lots of partner organizations who are helping out with this program as well. So it's been really exciting to see. So thanks, Amy. Again, in the essence of time, thank you all for sticking around with us a little bit after the noon hour here. I see there's a couple of questions in the chat, or maybe just comments in the chat that I didn't want to miss, but if anyone does need to jump off, feel free to do that. We will share contact information and the slides and the recording for today's presentations out afterwards, as we always do. So if you missed anything or want to listen to something again, that will be available to you. But thank you all so much for joining today. If you're able to stay on and we'll just address a couple of these questions, feel free. Otherwise, feel free to jump off. And again, thanks for being on today, and to our speakers for sharing all the great information. And then as far as questions in the chat, it looked like there was maybe oh, Sam from Deed. It looks like Chris had a question about a coffee break time available at your local shops for a tour and introduction, and maybe that got addressed already. But Chris, I assume you're welcome to any inquiries and tours and that sort of thing.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's the best way to see what we're doing. I would love to give a tour. It's nothing like special if you've been inside of a car shop or auto repair shop before, but once you see the guys at work, the spark plug guys at work working with the high school kids, that's a real special thing. And then I just want to piggyback off of the last presenter. I think her name was Amy. We have utilized the workforce work readiness program multiple times. We actually have a full-time hire that's we are putting on a full-time payroll January 1, and is amazing. But the side note of we've taken a few of those kiddos that were that dropped out of high school that were looking for a career path, and we gave them an exposure to automotive, and it has launched us into, we partner with Ford Motor Asset program, and we actually are helping those kids work towards their automotive degree through Hennepin Tech. And so we do that here with about 19 kiddos currently at our facility. So, and most of them come through that workforce program. And so it's just great job. Like, it is such an important program to give people real world experience.
Yeah, great to hear about that youth aspect too. I bet it's fun to see the older retired guys and the high school students kind of engaged together.
It comes out of that. I'll try to be brief, but we gave a car to a single mom to 2020, and it was a Toyota Highlander. Actually, that somebody was from Fergus Falls that donated it. He bought it brand new at the Toyota dealership there, and when he donated it to us, he had 317,000 miles on it, but it was in really great shape, right? And so we were able to give it away to this single mom. And I remember being so excited about it. And I go, "What excites you about receiving this vehicle?" And she goes, "It has a hitch." And I go, "What's exciting about that?" And she goes, "Well, I have a 13-year-old son that is stuck in his room because of COVID and the way that the schooling's happening, and I can't get him out of his room. And I can put a bike rack on this." And I go, "Well, that's really exciting." And so kind of fast forward a few years, we've actually given that car away 3 different times. The last time we gave it away, it had 367,000 miles on it. But we partnered with local DD at our work SEP here, and there was a student that had dropped out of high school, and he wanted to go explore some different vocations, and automotive was one of them. And in walks Dylan, who this kid is, and then here comes that single mom that we'd given that car to, and that 13-year-old boy is this kid that now wants to go into automotive. And Dylan, when he came to us, was then 17 years old, did not have a driver's license. So our shop manager said, "Well, if you want to work on cars, you need a driver's license." So the first hour he would come here, he studied for his driver's license test. Our retired guys would take him on and get his hours in to drive. He is now 18, has a driver's license test. works with us 29 hours a week and is working towards his AAS degree with NF Tech. And so the power of that program is just incredible. And from a program like us, where I don't have to pay a salary to be here, that is incredibly impactful for us, because it is a grind to get money for our program. The state hasn't recognized us as a viable quite yet, but we are working towards becoming a billable, and realizing that it's a collective effort of fixing cars for people, because that's the majority of people have access to a vehicle, and keeping those cars on the road. And our program does that very, very well. It's special. So, but we actually have 2 kids currently with us that work 29 hours a week from the Workforce Center, and it's an amazing program. So, side quest.
Yeah, super cool to hear. Thanks for sharing that. I think there's maybe one other comment. If individuals are receiving Social Security disability, are companies aware of the Ticket to Work program to inform their potential employees? And I don't know if Shar is still on or not, if that was just a comment or a question, Shar. Oh, there you are.
I'm still
Okay.
here. So yeah, Rural Minnesota Step, we are an employment network that contracts with Social Security to run the Ticket to Work program. So I don't know how often the individuals that companies and other agencies are working with, but there's a lot of fear out there that if somebody's receiving disability and they return to work, that they lose their benefits right away. And there is the Ticket to Work program that we can guide them through that. And there is no cost for this program. So we've tried to get the word out there. We make marketing calls, but especially to get that out to employers so that, I know there's always this myth out there that I'll hear people say, well, no, I can only earn $1,000 a month or I'm going to lose my benefits. That's not always true. And it makes a difference between SSDI and SSI. But just if anybody wants information on the Ticket to Work program, or if they want me to come and talk to anybody about it, I'm available to do that.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing, Shar. That's awesome. All right. Well, I think that's all of the questions. Just a couple other comments about Amy's impact thus far on the program, and appreciate those comments. But thank you guys for staying on, and for all of our speakers for joining us today. And I will, like I said, share all of our information and follow up. And yeah, thanks for being on, and have a great holiday season, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.